Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing another makeup declutter. I'm going to be focusing on eyeshadow palettes today, so that includes regular size palettes, trios, and quads. And I currently have 76 palettes, which is way too much for me nowadays. Hopefully I can narrow it down to no more than 50 palettes. I'll see how that goes because a lot of these I still really enjoy, but being realistic, I don't wear eyeshadow as much as I used to, so it is definitely time to declutter a bunch of these. So I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. Please make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps me out, so thank you to all of you who have subscribed recently. Welcome to my channel. I hope you stick around, but let's go ahead and get into it. Let's go ahead and start off with Anastasia Beverly Hills. Honestly, I think I'm going to declutter most of these, and the two that I know I'm absolutely going to keep are Rose Metals and Nouveau. I do reach for both of these and I like using them together. These are also the newest ABH palettes that I have, so I'm definitely going to keep these. I love Nouveau, especially for spring, because even though you can get some dramatic looks with this, you also get some bright pops of color like this matte purple right here. This one is super pretty as a one and done shadow, and I love the shimmers in here as well. And then Rose Metals, this one is definitely more dramatic than the Nouveau palette. The shades in here do run deeper, but I love that you can get some really dramatic looks with it. So keeping these two, and I think I'm going to declutter the rest of these. I know that might be surprising because I used to love especially this one, the Jackie Aina palette, but I don't use it anymore. I don't remember the last time that I did use it, and it does have some shades that I really like, but it also has some other ones that I never really cared for, like this bright matte pink shade, and I also rarely ever used the purples in here, so I really don't think there's any point in keeping this anymore. I'd rather just pass it on to someone else. And then same with the Carly Bible palette. The formula in this one isn't quite as good as some other ABH palettes. It does feel a little bit drier and not quite as blendable, so even though it does have some really pretty shimmers, I overall rarely ever used this palette, so I'm gonna pass this one along. The Norvina palette, I love the color of the outer packaging. I love purple shades like this, but again, I never use it, and unfortunately one of the shades did shatter yesterday. So some really pretty pops of color, but it's not a color story that I'm really drawn to anymore, especially some of the lighter pinks in here I rarely ever use. So I'm gonna declutter this one. Soft Glam I used to really like. I even hit pan on Burnt Orange, but the lighter shades in here, like some of the lighter shimmers, I've never really liked. My favorite shimmer in the palette has always been Sultry. That one is really pretty, but the rest of the shades I don't ever use. And then Modern Renaissance, a part of me is tempted to keep this one. I think this was either the first ABH palette that I ever purchased, or maybe one of the first ones. I don't really remember, but I used to use the heck out of this palette. I even hit pan on 3 different shades, but honestly, the color story in here doesn't really appeal to me anymore. Even though I do love a lot of the mattes in here, most of the shimmers I don't love. So this one, I think I am gonna declutter. Like I said, I'm kind of tempted to keep it because I do like this one, but yeah, I just don't use this one enough anymore, so I am going to part ways with it. I never thought I would. I thought I was going to keep a lot of these ABH palettes for a while. Next up, I have a bunch of ColourPop palettes. I think I have the most palettes from ColourPop out of all the other brands that I have. I used to buy these a lot more often, but I definitely chilled out with that. The California Love palette, I love this one. I love how bronzy it is. And even though I don't love the glitter in here, this is the original glitter formula, I'm pretty sure. ColourPop has definitely improved it over the years, but I love the mattes, I love the shimmers, and I just love how warm toned it is. So I do want to keep this one. I haven't used it in a while, so I do want to focus on using it throughout the fall. The So Jaded palette, I am going to part ways with this one. I have kept it around for a while, even though I haven't been using it in years. It does have some really pretty shades, lots of jewel tones, and I especially love the Super Shock shadow up here. It does have a really nice variety of shades, but I never use it, and I don't love the glitters in here because that is the older glitter formula from ColourPop, so I'm gonna declutter this one. I'm gonna keep the Hocus Pocus palette. I don't know that I'll ever be able to get rid of this one, even though it is really old at this point. The formula doesn't last that long on me. I do notice a bit of creasing throughout the day, but I love the grungy tones in here, so I'm gonna keep this one, and I especially love reaching for this one throughout October. It's just like the perfect October palette to me. The Pokemon palette, this one I wanna keep, even though I don't use super colorful eyeshadows that much anymore, but this one has pretty much everything that I need if I do wanna do some sort of colorful look. And the glitters in here are really nice because they are the new and improved formula, so I do really like this one, and I used to love Pokemon when I was a kid, so this one is really nostalgic to me, so I'm gonna keep it. I'm gonna declutter this one. This is the Secret Admirer palette. It is a really nice color story for Valentine's Day, but that's really the only time that I want to reach for this one, so I don't want to just keep it because of that, and I can find a lot of similar shades in some other palettes, so I'm gonna declutter this one. I'm definitely keeping this one though. This is the Going Coconuts palette. This one has been my go-to everyday neutral leaning cool toned palette. I did take out this shade, however, because it kept crumbling, so that was like the only shade that I didn't love in the palette, but overall really nice. I love this formula, really easy to work with, and I have used it a ton so far this year. At Forest Sight by Raw Beauty Christie, this one has some really deep matte shades, and it also has a couple of shimmers. So it's not a palette that I've ever reached for that much. I used to use it every once in a while, but I don't remember the last time that I did use it. So really pretty tones. I think it's perfect for fall, but it's not something that I find myself reaching for. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter it, but it is a really pretty palette. I love the artwork on the front, and just the overall theme of this collection was really nice. I'm gonna keep Limoncello. This is one of my favorite ColourPop palettes. It's mostly warm toned, but you also get a really pretty matte bright blue on the bottom. I just think this palette is so pretty, so I'm gonna keep this one. I have 3 Star Wars palettes here, and I would say the child one is my favorite. I love the greens in here. So most of the shades in here are green, but you also get a row of bronzy shades. This palette is just so cute. And I am gonna keep these other 2 as well. The Mandalorian palette, this one I love pairing with the child. I feel like they complement each other really nicely. It's definitely more cool toned and a bit deeper as well. And then the Darth Vader palette, this one is also pretty cool toned, but I really like this one whenever I want to do a really deep and smoky dramatic eye look. This one is super cute. This is the Hello Kitty and Friends palette. They did come out with a few other items in the collection, and I did declutter the blush. I don't know what I did with the lip products though. I think I also decluttered them a few years ago. So cute color story, very pink with a bit of purple, and you also get an orangey / bronzy column. So cute overall, but not something that I ever reach for. So I'm gonna declutter this one. This one I'm gonna keep. This is the Avatar: The Last Airbender palette. This one was pretty much the only palette that I was reaching for when I first moved into this house. Most of my makeup was still in boxes, but I did pack an everyday makeup bag, and this is a palette that I put in there. So whenever I had the chance to do my makeup, even though I was super stressed and busy, I did try to find some time to do my makeup at least a couple of times a week. It just helped me feel more relaxed and put together. So this one has some really good memories attached to it, but I love the warm tones in here. I love that you also get a blue column, and I just think it's a really pretty color story. I also love the packaging, so definitely keeping this one. The Frosty the Snowman palette, I'm gonna keep this one, and this one is the newest ColourPop palette that I purchased. I did get this one last winter. Some of the shades are not super pigmented, so I do have to build them up, especially some of the lighter matte shades. So even though some of the shades in here don't perform the best, at least not compared to some other ColourPop palettes, I do like it overall, and I have gotten some really pretty looks with it, so I'm gonna keep it. And then finally, the Through My Eyes palette from I Love Sarai. I've never used this palette that much, so even though it does have some really pretty shades in it, it's not the kind of color story that I ever found myself reaching for consistently, so I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one. The Alter Ego Dream Gaze palette. This is one of the colorful palettes that I am gonna keep. I love the variety of bright shades in here, and even though some of the shades in here aren't super pigmented, they do build up really easily and they're really easy to blend. So I'm gonna keep this one. The Lamora Nude Eyeshadow palette. I am going to declutter this one because I already have the I Need a Nude from Natasha Denona, which this one was clearly attempting to dupe, and I would say it's definitely not a dupe. The mattes in here are not very pigmented, so I really have to build them up, and even though the shimmers are really nice, I would say those are the best part of the palette, but I just never reach for this one. I think especially because I already have the I Need a Nude palette, and that one definitely outperforms this one. I think it is worth splurging on the Natasha Denona one, but if you really don't want to spend the money, and this one I think is under $15, then maybe you will enjoy it. Because a lot of the shades, like I said, are extremely similar, and I do really like how the shimmers perform, but I don't see the point in keeping this one, especially because I already have the I Need a Nude, so I'm gonna declutter it. The Too Faced Pumpkin Spice palette, I think I am going to keep this one. I don't use it that much throughout the year. I really focus on using it throughout November, but it's just such a pretty palette, and I love the scent of this one. It's a really sweet and cozy scent. So I do like the shadows in here. They do perform nicely. And even though I don't use the pinks and purples all that much, I do like reaching for them sometimes. So I'm gonna keep this one. The Dose of Colors Francation palette from Desi and Katie. I don't know how many years old this is, but technically it is expired at this point, but this one has some gorgeous foiled glittery shades. And I remember loving the mattes as well, but I don't think I've used this one in a few years. And I honestly don't think I'm gonna use it anytime soon, just because I have so many other palettes in my collection that I do wanna reach for. And this one for some reason doesn't appeal to me that much anymore. So I think I'm gonna declutter this one. The Il Makiage Kathleen Lights palette. These are some of the most blendable matte shades that I've ever tried, and the shimmers and metallics are super sparkly and reflective. I love the packaging as well. It did come with a bunch of stickers, so I did decorate the front, so definitely keeping this one. I'm gonna declutter this one. This is the Graveyard Girl Swamp Queen palette. I've never loved the face products in here. This one has a really warm tone bronzer that I've never liked on me. The blush is not the kind of shade that I reach for, and the highlighter is super glittery, so I never really liked that one either. At least not on my face. I did like it as an inner corner highlight. And the shadows are okay. They're not the best formula in my opinion. I mainly used the bronzy tones, and the purples I rarely ever used. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one. The Dexter palette from Lethal Cosmetics. I love the show Dexter. I have watched it at least a couple of times, and I haven't kept up with the new seasons. I think I've only watched maybe 2 episodes from New Blood, so let me know if you've watched it and if you like it. Because it is such a bold and dramatic color story, I haven't used it as much as I would like, but I'm gonna keep it. It was a really pricey palette, and even though the packaging is quite bulky, I do really like most of the shades in here, and because I am a fan of Dexter, this one is really special to me. The Lorac Fairy Tale Forest Pro Palette. I'm gonna keep this one, and I've loved it for years. It has a really nice range of neutral shades. I just really love Lorac's formula, and this one to me is one of the better formulas that I've tried from them. And then the Persona Identity palette, I'm gonna keep this one as well. They have updated the packaging, so this one is the original one, but the last time I used it, the shades perform just as well as they used to, and I still really love this color story, so I'm gonna keep it. I'm definitely keeping the Tati Beauty Volume 1 Texture Neutrals palette. I really hope she either releases this one again in the future or comes out with a new version, because this is a really nice palette. It feels really luxe, the packaging feels heavy, and you get a full-sized mirror, and I love the different finishes you get in here. I just love the concept of this palette, and I love how these perform, so definitely keeping that. The R.E.M. Beauty Wicked palette. I was pretty disappointed in the formulas in here, especially the glitters and metallics. They're just really crumbly and flaky, and they crease up super easily. The mattes I think are okay. Not the best, but also not the worst. I can make them work, but I just didn't love how this palette performed. So as much as I love the packaging and I love Wicked. I want to watch it again, and I can't wait for the second part, but unfortunately I just didn't love this palette, so I'm gonna declutter it. The Jaclyn Hill Morphe palette. This one is the original one. I know they updated the formula over the years, and apparently not only the formula was not the same, but some of the shades did change a bit. So I'm glad I got to try this palette because I really did love it for a few years, but I don't love it anymore. I think I've just found other palettes that I prefer over this. So I think it's time to part ways with it. I have two palettes from Urban Decay. I used to really like these, especially the Moondust palette. This one has nothing but Moondust shadows, which is one of my favorite formulas, but most of these shades I don't like anymore. I really only like the shade Lithium. I don't know if they sell it individually, but if they do, I'm gonna purchase it because I really love this bronzy taupey shade. It is just so pretty. And then Born to Run. This one was never a favorite for me. I liked it, but I've never loved it. I do think it's a pretty good formula, but not my favorite either. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter both of these. Next up, I have my Huda Beauty palettes. I'm gonna declutter Mercury Retrograde. I didn't end up loving this one. I thought I was gonna really like it because I really like the shades in here, but I didn't like the formula very much. I felt like a lot of the shades in here were really dry and not the easiest to work with. So I'm gonna declutter this one, even though it does have some really pretty shades, but it's not something that I use. The Naughty Nude palette, this one I used to really love, but I haven't reached for it in a while. I do like a lot of the shades in here, but I rarely ever feel like reaching for this one, so I kind of want to keep it because, like I said, I like some of the shades and I do really like Huda Beauty's mattes. So I think this one I'm going to put in the maybe pile. I thought it was going to be easier for me to decide with this one, but I'm going to take a little more time to see if I want to keep it. I'm going to keep Rose Quartz though. This one is such a beautiful palette. It has really pretty packaging and I love the foiled shades in here. Very pink, mauvey, and purple. So definitely keeping this one. The Empowered palette. This one I'm going to declutter. I never really liked it and honestly I don't know why I even purchased it in the first place because I don't love this color story and I don't care for the cream eyeshadows in here. I think I've used each of them maybe once or twice. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter this one. And then these two I am gonna keep. The Medium Nude palette, this one, I don't even know if they make anymore. The formula isn't quite as good as the one in the bigger palettes, but I really love the tones in here. I love how compact it is and it's really easy to use. And then Icy Nude. This one is a mostly cool tone palette. It has some really intense foiled and metallic shades, lots of glitter as well, but I just love how cool toned and icy this palette is. And you also get a few neutrals as well. And you know what? I am gonna keep Naughty Nude. I do like the shades in here. I really like the warm tones and it has some really pretty rose gold shades. So I'm gonna go ahead and keep it. Next up, I have some Oden's Eye palettes. And this one I'm gonna keep. This is the Love Language palette from Morgan Turner. This is a really pretty pink and purple palette. It also has some everyday neutrals, so really versatile palette. Morgan Turner did such an amazing job with this one. These two are Christmas palettes. Snow Dream I didn't end up loving. I didn't feel like some of the shades in here performed quite as well as other Oden's Eye palettes, and I also don't love the shades in here, so I'm going to declutter this one, but I am going to keep the Merry Christmas palette. I did use this one for Christmas last year and I did get a few compliments. I loved the looks that I've been able to do with this one, so I'm probably going to reach for this one again this Christmas. And then these two I'm also going to keep. This one is Sea Talk by Lauren. I love the artwork on the packaging. And this color story is so unique and interesting to me. I especially love this purpley taupe shade. I love pairing it with this matte cool tone shade. And I love the pops of color in here. I just think it's a really well-rounded palette. And then Red Dragon from Judy. I think this is one of the best Oden's Eye palettes. And I just love the warm tones. I love that you get a bit of green as well, and everything performs so nicely. I am gonna keep all three of my Patrick Ta palettes. Major Dimension 1 is mostly neutral, but I would say it does lean a bit warm toned. I don't use this one quite as much as the other two, but I do really like it. Major Dimension 2 is a warmer and rosier palette, super pretty as well. And then Major Dimension 3, this one is all matte, and I would say this one is my favorite. I love that that the top row is neutral leaning warm, and then the bottom row is cool toned. So even when I'm using another palette, I reach for this one a lot of the times because it does have all of the basic shades that I could need, and it really helps to complete a look. So keeping all three of my Patrick Top palettes. I have three from Pat McGrath, and I'm also gonna keep all three of these. So this one is Utopian Dream. I love Pat McGrath's formula. It's very pigmented, and especially the special shades I think are gorgeous. And this one does have a few of those, and it also has a trio chrome, which is really pretty. I love this one as well. This one is Bronze Seduction, and this was the first Pat McGrath palette that I ever tried, and I ended up loving it. I have had it for a few years, but this one performs really nicely still. And then this quad is in Voyeuristic Vixen. I love this one as well. I do have to pair it with some other matte shades because the only matte you get in here is quite deep, but I love this color story and it has some really pretty foiled shades. Next up, I have my Natasha Denona palettes, which I do have 9 right now. And I'm gonna keep all of these except for this one. This is the Sunset palette. I thought I was gonna end up loving this one, and luckily I did get it at a discount because I didn't end up loving the formula in here. It's just not as good as the other Natasha Denona palettes that I've tried. I do think she improved the formula over the years. I just don't think some of these shades are quite as blendable as the shades in the Midi palettes. So even though I do love a lot of the bronzy and warm tones in here, I have so many other warm and bronzy palettes that I prefer over this one. So I'm gonna go ahead and declutter it. And then the rest of these I am gonna keep. So this one is the Bloom palette. I love how warm and rosy it is. The I Need a Nude, this one is one of my favorites from Natasha Denona. I love that it leans cool toned and it has some really pretty taupey shimmers. I Need a Warm is not my favorite one from Natasha Denona, but I do enjoy it overall. I wasn't super impressed with the trio chrome in the palette, but everything else does perform nicely, and I do like these warm shades. Right now I have some of these shades in the Hyper Natural Face palette. I didn't love the shades in that one, so I took some of the shades from here and replaced them. The My Dream palette, this one has some really pretty purples. I really like pairing this one with the Retro palette, which has some rosy tones, but I would say it leans more mauve. Super pretty as well. The Yucca palette, which is so unique. It has lots of greens and mustard tones, and it even has a metallic purple, which I always felt like was a little bit out of place, but I do think it's a really pretty shade. So whenever I want to use that one, I do have to pull in another palette, which I don't really mind, but it is a little bit out of place in my opinion. But I love that this palette helps me step out of my comfort zone. The Golden palette, this one I love. It's not super warm toned, which I actually really like. I don't think anything in here actually pulls warm toned. It's more so a neutral golden palette. And then the Mini Nude palette, this one has 5 shades, perfect for travel, and I just think it's really cohesive. It's super easy to create looks with this one, and I love how bronzy it is. Okay, so these are the last palettes in my collection. This one is the M Cosmetics Divine Skies Rodin palette. I love this palette because it's perfect for everyday looks, and I really like how these shadows perform. Mostly neutral, but I would say it does lean a bit cool toned. So I'm gonna keep this one. I have 2 mini palettes from Essence. I do like both of these, but I think I'm only gonna keep one of them. So I'm gonna declutter Coral Me Maybe. I do like the shades in here, but I just don't reach for it that much. And I'm gonna keep Bronze This Way. I definitely use this one way more than Coral Me Maybe. It has some really pretty bronzy shades, and I really like this formula. I'm also gonna keep this one from Profusion. This is the Sweater Weather palette from the Peanuts collection. This one came with a few other items in an advent calendar, and I thought it was really cute. I think this is a super pretty quad, and I love how pigmented these are. Really nice and blendable, and I'm pretty sure this is the only palette that I've tried from Profusion. I don't think I've ever tried any of their other eyeshadows, but I was really impressed with this one, so I do want to try some other ones in the future. I have a few palettes from e.l.f. These are the Bite Size Eyeshadow palettes. I'm only going to keep this one, which is called Pumpkin Pie. It's pretty much the only one that I used out of the 3 of these. I do think this one performs the best, and I love these shades the most. But I'm going to declutter Berry Bad, which is not quite as pigmented as Pumpkin Pie. I do like the shades in here, but I do have to build up some of these, especially this Letter Matte shade. And Truffles, which I've never used that much. I really don't care for this metallic silver shade, so I really only use these three, but I'd rather just declutter it. So I'm gonna declutter these two, and I'm only gonna keep Pumpkin Pie. And then this is the Keep It Ethereal palette. I never got to try the Makeup by Mario Original Ethereal Eyes palette, so that's one of the reasons why I picked this one up, because clearly it was inspired by that one. And this formula, I think, is okay. The mattes perform pretty well, although you do have to build up some of them. And these two lighter shimmers are really firmly pressed, so I have to add a couple of layers if I really want them to show up. But these two darker shimmers I do really like. They're not as firmly pressed, so they are more pigmented. But I do like this palette overall, so I am gonna keep it. I'm also gonna keep the Milani Gilded Mini Whiskey Business palette. This one is all matte, and even though the formula isn't as good as some other matte shades, I do like it, and I love how compact it is. But it's just a really nice neutral matte palette. The Makeup by Mario Moonlight palette, this one I am gonna keep. I used to not care for cool toned eyeshadows, but this is one of the palettes that made me love cool toned eyeshadows more. It was very much outside of my comfort zone, but something about it made me want to try it. And I love the taupey shimmers. These are more like toppers, so not super opaque. The only actual metallic shade is this one over here, but the mattes perform really well, and I love the looks that I've gotten with this one, so I'm gonna keep it. These two are from Wet n Wild, and this one was from their 2024 Christmas collection. That collection I thought was super cute, but I really didn't hear that many people talking about it. But this palette is so nice. I wasn't expecting much from it, but I ended up loving it. So I'm gonna keep this one, and I'm also gonna keep the Marilyn Monroe palette. This is such a nice neutral palette. Definitely underrated in my opinion, but to me these shadows perform really nicely. Almost like high-end. This one from Kaja I'm also gonna keep. This is the Beauty Bento Trio in Orange Blossom. I love how compact this one is. I did travel with it during the summer and it did come in handy, but this bronzy shade is one of the prettiest ones that I've ever tried. This middle shade is a warm golden shade, and then the lightest one is a light pinky gold. I think all three of these shades are super pretty, and I can just pair it with one of my matte palettes, and I always end up loving the looks that I do with them. And then finally, this one is a custom palette. I did get rid of most of my single shadows, so these are the only ones that I kept. These three glitters are from With Love Cosmetics. They have so many different shades, and I love these glitters because they do adhere really nicely to the lids. You don't even need a glitter glue because they are a bit tacky. So this bronzy glitter is called Mocha. This lighter iridescent one is called Snow Angel. And then this purple one is Lavender Hollow. All three of these I think are absolutely stunning, and I'm definitely going to try to use Mocha for some fall looks. This shadow from ColourPop is called Glass Wool. I think this one is a duochrome because it does have a bit of a shift to it, but really pretty shade. It's really old at this point, but it seems to work fine. And then this is the only Makeup Geek shadow that I have left. This is called Black Light. Another really old shade, but I just love this one. It has a blue, pink, and purple shift to it. Super pretty. So I am going to keep all of these. Like I said, these are the only single shadows that I have left. I got rid of so many of them, but luckily I do have some friends that are really enjoying them. All right, so here are all the palettes that I'm decluttering. I counted 24, which honestly, I was hoping to declutter a few more, but I am pretty happy with the ones that I did choose to keep. As you saw from the previous clips, I did decide to declutter a few more palettes off camera, and I'm glad that I did because I realized that some of these I could do without. Some of them didn't swatch the best because I have had them for several years, and other ones I realized I'm really not going to use, so I'd rather pass them on to someone else. I had originally decluttered 24, but I ended up decluttering 31 in total, which is a lot better for me. And now I currently have 45 palettes in my collection, so definitely better. I do feel a lot better about that number, and even just looking at my eyeshadow palette drawer, I don't feel as overwhelmed looking through it. And I love that I only have the palettes that I actually love and I know I'm going to use. So thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you subscribe and give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, but I will see you in my next one. Bye.